All right, good morning. Welcome to the Loan Officer Breakfast Club, my friends. It's going to be an incredible day. We have a very, very special guest in the house that's going to absolutely blow your mind. Welcome to the Loan Officer Breakfast Club, brought to you every Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Time for your free coaching pleasure. Because, Kristen, why not?
Why not?
Why not? I mean, it doesn't make any sense not to be here. All right, we got a big crowd piling in, and they should, because our guest is absolutely stellar. We can't wait to hear from Mr. Perry Belcher here, one of Carl's good friends. He's talked a lot about him with us, and we can't wait to kind of get started here. But let us know how you're doing in the chat. Warm it up for us. Let us know where you're at, what the temperature is, that kind of a thing. We do want to give about 5 minutes, Perry. Let me just let some people kind of come in, and that kind of a thing. In the meantime, we'll just pick on some people because that's what we do around here. Let's see. Who do we pick on? Carl, who should we pick on real quick before we let Perry take off? And let's just see
who's yelling. Who's screaming, please call me, please.
Call on me this morning.
Please call on me.
I mean, I'm looking at Angela Abney.
I cannot believe you said that. That's exactly who
Is that where you're looking to? Because I was thinking.
I swear. God, I was looking at Rob Zuckerman, and then I saw Angela, and Rob was saying me, but Angela was saying, screw him, pick me. That's what I heard. How you doing, Angela?
Yeah, what's up, Angela?
How is everybody doing?
Good.
Hey. Yeah, so wins. I've had some good wins here lately. I've closed more in volume already since, in the end of March since last year, the whole year last year. So
nice.
Really, really good. Yeah. And
so let's say that one more time. Okay, go ahead, Carl. You're thinking the same thing I am.
What's the secret? Take off your humble hat. What's the secret sauce?
Well, the calls, making those calls. You have to make the calls. And so I went from working 2 jobs for the last 5 years of mortgages, and now I'm full-time mortgage. So that stepped me into a whole nother realm. And so those calls and those just following up and being consistent and being authentic, and I love it. I've enjoyed it a lot. So that's what I'm doing.
Good for you.
Way to go.
How long you been coming here?
Sounds like
I've been here pretty regularly since I came full-time mortgages, since January. Pretty regularly. I've missed not many. Yeah.
You got a t-shirt?
I do not.
Oh, yes, you do, sister. Congratulations. We've already given away a t-shirt, Perry. We've already given away a t-shirt. We're only 3 minutes into the freaking show.
God, it's the budget?
It's gonna be good. Thank you guys so much.
No, the budget's great. We just give it away and somehow Carl pays for it.
It's just Carl.
Yeah.
It's just
super cool.
Well, he's got a bottomless pit, so you guys.
He really does. Yeah, we were going to really up the ante on the gifts too. We haven't really decided.
We had to sell the third airplane, So
If you're getting value from this already, go ahead and tap that like button. It helps more loan officers find content that actually makes a difference. And hey, if staying ahead of the market and learning what's really working in our industry matters to you, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss another episode. We read every comment, so drop your thoughts down below. We'd love to hear from you and know what's working or what you'd like us to cover next. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you here next time. All right, come on. Let's do one more, and then we'll get things going. How about this, Kristen? You pick somebody.
Oh boy! All right. So I did have my eye on somebody earlier. Chad Aldridge. There he is.
Aldridge. Come on,
He just has this great smile, and I was like, Chad, we need to talk to Chad. His smile's making me happy.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Chad.
Yeah. How are you guys?
Good.
What's going on?
Not a whole lot. I hadn't been on in a couple of days, but I noticed, something yesterday in my email told me I ought to get on this one. So
good to see Chad. Where are you at, Chad?
Greenville, North Carolina.
Oh, I know exactly where that is. In fact, I'm getting ready to drive through there on Friday. So I love that area. It's beautiful up there.
I was picking up a New York.
An hour and a half east of Raleigh.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's beautiful.
Swinging some loans, Chad. Getting some deals closed. How's it going?
Working on that. We got a few in the pipeline, and
do you? Okay.
Yeah, and trying to increase that. So
all right. Sticking to the plan.
I'm working on sticking to the plan.
Okay,
that's why I'm here.
So Perry, North Carolina is a halfback state. Do you know what a halfback state is?
No, tell me about that.
What's that?
You ever heard of that, Perry?
No.
So halfback state, it's a real thing. So a halfback state is somebody lives up in Michigan or New York, or Canada, and they move down to Florida, and they
And
spend
then
one
went
summer here, and they
halfway
go,
back up.
holy cow, it's hot. So they move half back. That's a
That
real
makes
thing. So
sense.
South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, and even your
Halfback.
even the motherland of Kentucky.
Nobody ever moves back to Kentucky. That's not
No.
true.
Oh, brutal.
It's
So
a
that's
great
for
place to
Perry.
be
That's-
from. Yeah.
Well, listen, Chad, thanks so much, man, for chiming in and letting us talk to you. But Carl, I think we're at the time. It's the moment. It is time to bring on Mr. Perry Belcher, Carl's buddy.
So I have to tell you, there is literally, and he's such a humble guy. There is literally nobody that has influenced me in my business, and frankly benefited me and my family more than Perry. So Perry and I have known each other for probably about 20 years now, something like that. And I was mentioning yesterday, Perry, it's been really fun watching because like when we first met, I think your first event that I went to, I think there was like 100 people there or something like that.
Oh,
And now there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people across the world at any one event. You literally draw them in from all over the world. And it's been fun watching your journey, brother. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. So for those of you who don't know Perry, he's the co-founder of Traffic and Conversion, which is was the largest marketing event, I believe, in the world.
it was.
And a huge influence through any brand you can think of has had their work team studying under Perry about marketing and conversion. And Perry also has a little known thing about him. Um, he says he's an off-camera guy, and what that means is like at the Shark Tank, when Damon Johns was deciding whether or not to invest something, Damon wasn't the actual person that was making the decision. Sitting off camera on the Shark Tank was Perry giving Damon the thumbs up or the thumbs down whether or not to invest into it. And so Damon, in his brilliance, got Perry to help him make those decisions, standing off camera. I bet that was some cool experiences over there on the Shark Tank, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's because I was the guy who got stuck with the business at the end. They don't. So I was the guy that had the funniest one. We had I bought a deal once on there, the very first deal I ever bought, and I said, well, I need to talk to the people. And they said, well, they'll be out in about an hour. I said, well, I want to go home. I'm ready to leave. I've been here all day because they filmed for 12 hours straight. It was the last deal of the day. I bought the last deal of the day. I said, well, they won't be out for an hour. So where are they at? So they're in psych evaluation. So what do you mean psych evaluation? This is an internal thing that nobody would know about Shark Tank. Yeah, everybody has to go through a psych evaluation after they buy a deal because a few years back, Mark Cuban bought a deal from a guy. And on the way home, he called his friend to assassinate his wife.
Whoa.
Because he had made a deal with Mark Cuban and he was going to be a billionaire.
Wow.
No kidding. So they put these people through psychological evaluation before they let them leave. Most of those deals never happen, by the way. The people usually blow them up before they could ever happen. It's a really interesting world to be on the inside of.
Yeah, I saw a thing in there. It was called I think it was called After the Tank or something like that. They did a little series for a little while. It never ceased to amaze me. It's exactly what you said. It was like only 1 out of 10 would follow the direction of the shark, who's clearly has the expertise to help them take their business to the next level, and that 9 out of 10 goes, no, I hear what you're saying, Perry, but I've got a better way.
I got a better idea.
And
Interesting.
Just as a term you famously coined, that's just a special kind of stupid.
This is a special kind of stupid. It's less smart.
Less smart. So anyway, Perry, it's great to have you here today, brother. You're out of Austin, Texas these days, if I remember right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And what are you going to talk to us about today?
I want to talk about selling during uncertainty because I know that you guys are getting a lot of this right now because everybody's getting a lot of it. And I did this talk for one of our larger mastermind groups, and they really got a lot out of it. And I'll try to make it fairly brief, but I think there's a couple things that might be helpful to you guys.
Perfect. Let's do it, man.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, thanks a lot for having me, Carl and crew. By the way, all these, I'm not used to all these pretty girls. I'm in the marketing space, and I got all these tech geeks and dudes. y'all got all these pretty girls in here. We don't have these in my business. I gotta switch over. I'm going in the mortgage business. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. So selling in uncertain times, we're in very uncertain times right now. I don't care which side of the political landscape you lean on. It's showing in the stock market everywhere, and it's going to show in your customers if it hasn't already, which I'm sure it has. And for a lot of reasons, right? And this is not unusual. I got good news, bad news. So I'll give you the bad news first, which there's not really any bad news. It's all good news. But we have very different leadership right now. Whether you're a Donald Trump supporter or a Donald Trump hater, doesn't matter. Everybody has to admit that the leadership is very, very different. And different freaks people out, everybody. There's global instability. There's tons of economic pressure right now with prices rising. Nobody knows what's going to happen with tariffs, and there's information overload. People are hearing this stuff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because if it bleeds, it leads, they say in the news. There's a loss of community. We're more divided now, a lot of people say, than we were during the Civil War, with the polarity of people. There's cultural shifts with he, him, her, thems, those, and etc. at all. So all these changes are happening that freak people out, right? And I'm sitting in the middle of one of these disruptions because I teach AI automation, and I teach marketing, right? But I teach marketing automation. So a lot of marketing that has to do with AI, robotic process automation, and even soon humanoid robots. And we're going through a really unprecedented time right now. From a technology standpoint, a GPT, or a general purpose technology, there's only been a handful of them ever since the beginning of time. And we're in the midst of one of those right now. And what a general purpose technology means is that it's a technology that will touch every aspect of every human's life on the planet, right? And there's only been a handful of those. The first one was fire. Carl, you remember that one?
Yeah.
And it was a big deal when man discovered fire. Carl probably had a barbecue that night. The wheel, steam engines, industrial age, electricity, computers, the internet, and now artificial intelligence and soon human robotics. So these usually come along every few thousand years, right? Or every few hundred years in modern science. Now we're sitting at the precipice of two, and it's got people freaked out. They don't know what's going to happen. But here's the good news. I don't know what to tell you about any of that, by the way. I don't have a freaking clue what's going to happen. And anybody that tells you they do is lying, because they just don't. This is there. I live in Austin, Texas. I moved back to Austin, Texas, largely because of Tesla and all the stuff Tesla's doing here. But they have a plant here building robots. And guess who's building the robots? Anybody got a guess? You got it. Robots, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've got robots building robots. We've got AI building AI. So the new AI models are being programmed by the old AI models. So nobody knows where that's going to stop, or if it's going to stop, and they're at over genius levels in AI models now. So, and I teach people how to leverage all that stuff, which is great. But, like with most technologies, a handful of people are going to really flourish, and everybody else is going to, there's going to be an even greater economic divide than there already is. But here's the good news. There is good news in all this. I'm like, I'm like Mr. What is Smithers? That's it's like excellent. Because I know something that most people don't know. We buy more in times of uncertainty. We buy more in times of uncertainty. This has always been true. Look at how the markets rallied and economic cycles boomed during COVID, right? That's the most recent example. If you think back, everybody was sure COVID was going to be sure and certain disaster, and it turned out to be a huge boom. But when we buy, or when we decide who we're going to buy from, and this is something I'm sure Carl's talked to you guys about before, but money cycles, right? Money cycles. There's no less money in the market today than there was yesterday or the day before that or tomorrow. It'll be the same. It's just placed in different areas. It's in different buckets. People choose to spend it on a bucket rather than B bucket, and they choose to spend it with person A versus person B. So you want to be person A if you can, right? So how do you do that, especially in times like right now? And how can an opportunity like this help you a great deal after this crisis is all over, which it will pass. We all know that, right? Unless you're just a doomsdayer and you believe the whole world's going to shit and going to crap, and we're going to all blow away in the wind. I don't think so. So we humans, I got to speak with a man named Rory Sutherland. And if you get to buy his book, if I give you one gift on this thing, go buy Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. And if you want to have fun, listen to the audiobook. He's maybe the smartest guy I know. Really, really brilliant fellow. He's the head of Ogilvy Advertising, 70,000 employees. He's the most creative director of creative people in the world. And he taught me one thing in a 2-day meeting, that people's desire for certainty is greater than anything else. The reason the stock market is upside down right now is because people are uncertain. They don't know if things are going to be good. They don't know if things are going to be bad. So they tend to freeze up. But people are drawn in these times, write these down. People are drawn to 3 things during these times: certainty, simplicity, and safety. Certainty, simplicity, and safety. And for certainty, we look for leadership and reassurance. We really just want to be told everything's okay. That's really it. And we need to be told that by somebody that we know, like, and trust, right? So this is kind of your job, is to fill that void that's out there in the world of absolute total uncertainty and information overload. Information overload actually works to your favor, believe it or not, because anytime people are hearing conflicting opinions, or just a lot of opinions or a lot of information, they're looking for a trusted arbiter of that information. They want somebody. We used to have people like Walter Cronkite and Morrow and real newsmen that were unbiased when the news was the news. And that's just the way it is, those kinds of folks. And we could trust them, and we don't have them anymore. So today we trust TikTok influencers to tell us what's what, right? So, but you're in the community, right? You're in the community. You're working with your realtors, with your brokers, with your suppliers, with your clients. And the more you can become a leader for them versus a vendor, the more successful you will be. The second thing that we look for is simplicity. So people right now, more than ever, and this is kind of true all the time, they just want to be told what to do. They don't want to be sold to right now. They really don't. And they really never wanted to be. They just want to be told what to do. Decision fatigue is a thing. Like, people hate making decisions. If you're firm enough with them and tell them what to do, they will more than likely follow your instruction and do what you tell them. If you give them 3 options, hey, you could do this 3 ways. You do A, B, or C. You're making a huge mistake, especially in these times. You just need to tell them straight up with simplicity what they need to do next. And for safety, they seek community. We all do. So there's a reason that cities exist. Most people don't know. If you read the book Sapiens, it's an extraordinary book, by the way, Sapiens. It's the history of mankind. And it starts off, when we start off, right? As far back as anybody can measure. But for thousands and thousands of years, humans gathered in small packs of 7 or 8. We didn't have fur. We didn't have claws. We didn't have fangs, right? We were a weak being, and it took 9 months for a baby to mature inside a woman, and it took that baby 2 years to learn how to walk, compared to a horse that drops out the back of its mama and can gait around the yard in 5 minutes, right? It could run. So we were a very, very weak species. And over time, we learned to communicate. That was our gift. We learned to communicate via story. Via story. We learned to communicate. Hieroglyphics on the walls of caves. Eventually, we taught each other how to develop weapons and shared information about how to hunt. And we became the dominant species on the planet. Steve Jobs, who I'm a huge fan of, did a study once, showed a study once that he had read about the most efficient animals in the world. And the most efficient animal in the world is the condor. It spends less calories to survive than any other animal. It can fly, it can hunt from the sky, it can hunt from the ground, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Man is 19 down the list on the most efficient animals. But if you give a human a bicycle, they become the most efficient animal in the world. So our advent of tools really helped us a lot. So we did all that, though, through community. So we have this natural urging for community. So you should be, like Carl is here, the leader. Why do you come to these calls? Why are you here this morning? There's safety in numbers. There's safety in community. There's certainty in community. Carl and team give you simple solutions. If you're great on the phone, make a lot of calls. If you're bad on the phone, make more calls. That's a pretty simple solution, right? So, but that's why you love him. That's why you love this community and this group. I know you do. I've not been on here before, but I know you do, because I know Carl very well, and I know the people he surrounds himself with. So what do you do? Well, number one, in your communications, start telling more stories. Nothing beats the power of a story. And if you don't know how to tell a story, there's a little book you can buy on Amazon called Save the Cat. You can read it on the toilet in 30 minutes if you spend 30 minutes on the toilet. Ladies don't know what that, they don't understand that. All the dudes are like, yep, I got it. They get it, right? So, but you can read this little book and it'll tell you how to structure a story. And if you're bad at telling stories, but you follow a good structure, you'll be able to land a story. You know how it is. You got certain friends that are great storytellers and certain friends that are bad storytellers, And but being able to communicate your messages through stories will get you a long way, right? And number one, in your communications, you just got to address the elephant in the room, right? All the things that I talked to you about earlier, you should be talking about them. You really should be. And what happens with most people, they don't want to bring those. Oh, I'm not going to bring that up. I don't want to bring that up. I don't want to make them think about that. I don't want to bring that up. But you have to address the elephant in the room, and then you got to kind of remove its tusks. Talk about all the times this has happened in the past and how it's always been okay. And the people that were brave during those times came out the other side of it better off than the people who weren't brave. And there's plenty of examples of that. If you can't find stories like that, go to ChatGPT and ask it to find stories like that for you. By the way, it does a great job. And make sure they're real stories. And think a lot more. You guys probably spend a lot of your time talking about payments and mortgage insurance and interest rates and real estate commissions and all those things. Try to avoid 100% of that as much as you possibly can, and talk about the emotional element of buying a house or getting a mortgage or refinancing or whatever it is you're trying to ask them to do. Think about the emotional elements that peel the onion back to why are they doing this to start with? Why do they want it? What are they afraid of? And talk about those emotions. The marketing business is about two things. It's about emotions and mathematics. That's it. If the math works and the emotions are there, you'll always win. Communicate with urgency. Let people know that there's an opportunity right now that will probably pass them by. But be hyper clear. Your solution that you provide for them, don't just scare them or give them a sense of urgency with nothing to do about it. You've got to give them clear, hyper clear instructions. So your communication should be about urgency with hyper clear instructions, and position yourself as a guide for them. You're a Sherpa. You're a Sherpa to take them through the choppy waters. You know where all the slippery rocks are, right? That's your job, is to be their Sherpa and provide steadfast leadership and historical data. Come back to them and talk to them about all the times in the past things like this have happened. During the Civil War, there were fortunes made. There were every time there's been uncertainty during the Russia crisis, when we thought Russia was going to nuke us all, there were fortunes made when people were afraid. They sold homes like crazy and cars like crazy, and provide a community to discuss all this in. Were I you, I'd be holding meetings like this, or going to local civic organizations and hosting events, or just doing roundtables where people can sit around and talk about this stuff. When you sit around and talk about it, you become way less afraid of it. You really do. And I'm not telling you, by all means, I want to tell you, I'm not telling you to be a fear monger. In fact, fear will not work right now. It will not work. Everyone is craving stability. Fear only works when things are really good. That sounds crazy, but when things are really, really, really good, Carl can have me back and I'll tell you how to sell when things are really, really good. Because all you got to do then is drop seeds of doubt in people's minds that they're going to get bad, because the fear of loss is always greater than the desire to succeed. So how do you help them right now? Learn how to give them some quick wins. I mean, people right now are suffering from something. There's a whole, you can read about it. It's called learned helplessness. I did a post on my Facebook group, on my Facebook page the other day. If you guys, Carl, if you want to grab that and drop it to the group sometime, you're more than welcome to. But it's about learned helplessness. And after a person feels defeated, and some of your people can feel defeated by watching the news. They can just feel defeated, right? And they're news junkies. People watch Fox News bizarrely 6-8 hours a day. They watch it in prime time. And all it is just more and more turmoil. And people get this sense of learned helplessness, which makes them feel totally helpless. So how do you get them out of that? The only way to get them out of that is give them a quick win. And the first person that gives them a quick win, they'll be their guy, right? Or their gal. Show some social proof of how brave people in the past have gotten past this stuff. Make sure that as much as you can control it, and I know you have limited control over this, that you can give them flexible terms and guarantees, a wiggle room out of a deal, right? Because they'll likely not wiggle out of it, but they want to know there's an exit door. It gives them a feeling of safety. The last thing they want to do is sign a locked contract until they absolutely have to. Make it safe to say yes, in other words, right? Try to write at a 4th grade level. There's all kidding aside, I worked with a company called Agora. They do $1.6 billion a year in sales. And they went back and looked at all their sales letters over 20 years. And the ones that performed the absolute most, that made the most of that money, were written at a 4th to 5th grade level. So when you write with great big words at a highly sophisticated level, you tend to lose people. So think about children's stories and fables and things like that. Stay consistent, but this is really the most important thing of all. Radiate calm. Radiate calm, radiate clarity, radiate confidence. That's it. I mean, that's what you really got to do if you're going to help your people the most you can help them. And don't worry about your commissions right now. Just worry about helping as many people as you can help. And I promise you it'll all be okay. I mean, Apple in 2008, the last financial crisis, Apple doubled down and they invested in 3G technology for their phones. They simplified the interface, and they opened Apple stores in the middle of the greatest economic depression we'd had in 30 years. How'd they do when they came out the other side? Back in the Great Depression, Campbell's Soup was competing with Progresso, and Progresso was the biggest soup maker in the world. During the Depression, Campbell's Soup dropped all their prices by 5 cents a can. I think there was like 15 cents a can, and they went to 10 cents a can and made no money during the whole Depression. But when they came out the other side of the Depression, they were the biggest soup brand in the world. Airbnb during COVID, how do you think Airbnb did during COVID? Actually, they did okay because the CEO sat down and wrote this greatly inspiring letter to all of his clients, tell them it's going to be okay. And they pivoted to long-term rentals because people needed to stay indoors and stay at home, and there wasn't enough housing for everybody. In 2020, Netflix was just killed with an onslaught of competition from Paramount and HBO Max and all that, and their money was down, the stock was down. The CEO was just steadfast and said, listen, we're not changing anything. We're going to stay on our path. They actually simplified their interface, right? And they started making more of their own programming, and they emerged on the other side great, and you will too. So I don't know if that was helpful at all, Carl, but that's I think that getting people comfortable more than anything else, just talk about what's going on, but position yourself as their guide through it all. I know you're nervous. I know you may be. Let me kind of explain some of this stuff. I've been lucky. Carl, my favorite compliment I ever got in my life was an old friend of mine, Ken Caudell, who passed away a few years ago. He said, Belcher, you only got one skill in the world, and that's making the painfully obvious seem profound. So learn how to communicate some of these complicated things in simple terms for people so that they understand them and they're not so scary. And they'll see you as their leader. They really will, and they'll follow you into the fire.
It's funny, Perry, as you're sitting there talking about, it was like during uncertain times where Campbell would drop their soup by a nickel. So I don't know if anybody really remembers it, but this group here, which we call the Loan Officer Breakfast Club, actually came to existence during COVID. Because what happened was everything shut down. We couldn't show up in each other's offices anymore. And so we came up with this idea, well, gosh, let's just do a morning Zoom meeting just to get people, with a sense of community again. Like we can't go to the gym. We can't, where I live, we literally couldn't go to the city park. And so we all lost this community, and we were all just desperately, starving for it. And that's where the Loan Officer Breakfast Club was born. And now it's the largest daily group of loan officers literally in the world today, for a morning thing. So, hey, Perry, dude, just outstanding information. You just remind me over and over again how much I love you and why, and just everything that you do. And you're such a giving spirit. And I really, really appreciate it. And brother, I from the bottom of my heart, just thank you for being a huge influence on me in my life. And then, I told Perry this probably about 5 years ago, and I'll never forget this. A tear started coming down his cheek when I told him that the things that I do is largely because of him. And so he influenced one, and then one influenced tens of thousands of others. And I'm just one that he influenced. And so his ripple effect is just massive. And so I'm grateful for you, brother. And I see a lot of people giving you the kudos here in the group, man. So, hey, I gotta ask you a real question. I need you to take off your humble hat. So is this wisdom of marketing and business, did it come natural to you, or is it learned? A little bit of both? Like, where do you, really take off your humble hat? I'm just sitting here wondering, where does this guy get all this great information? How did it come to be, do you think?
It's mostly learned, but it's not that natural. The only thing I had natural was just incredible desire,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think I told you before, I never I turned out to be a pretty wealthy guy, right? But I never desired to be rich. I just desired to not be poor because I saw poverty just wreak havoc on my mother and some of my other family members. I just didn't want to be poor. So I just went the opposite of poor. And I think there's, you know, there was no wisdom in it at the time. But a good friend of mine, John Asseroff, I don't know if you remember John or not, John, no, John.
I do.
I was during COVID, I was a little depressed. I'm a social butterfly. I like people. And John called me one day for something and he said, "You don't sound like Perry. You okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been feeling kind of funky and I don't know, it's kind of depressed or whatever." And he said, "Well, what do you want?" I said, "I don't know, man." I couldn't tell him. I had no idea what I wanted.
Hmm.
And he gave me one of the best pieces of advice, and maybe this will help some of your guys. He said, "I want you to sit down in a room for 2 hours. You can't do anything else. Put a legal pad in front of you. And on one line of each line of that legal pad, write something you don't want in your life anymore. Write what you don't want." People are pretty crystal clear about what they don't want, right? It's really hard to form what you do want. It's really easy to form what you don't want. That's why I have 4 ex-wives.
Yeah.
It's but a bunch. Yeah, there you go. But it's really easy. But you can be crystal clear on what you don't want. It's always what you want is sort of fuzzy. So I did that because John's a smart guy, and man, it brought so much clarity. Because once I got rid of those things that I didn't want in my life, everything I did want is sort of kind of started to appear.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost magical. So
Mm-hmm.
it was really, really good for me. So, but I've read, I read incessantly, and I think I've read more about psychology and human behavior than most psychologists and human behavioralists. I always call myself a redneck behavioral scientist,
Mm-hmm.
because I read and studied, and fortunately for me, because of position and events and stuff, got to meet, you know, Robert Cialdini and Roy Sutherland that I talked about earlier. Who Roy is by far, I think, knows human behavior better than any human. Daniel Priestley. If you can read Daniel Priestley's Oversubscribed, it's a terrific new book that I like. I don't like a lot of new books. I read a lot of old books.
Mm-hmm.
But that book, Oversubscribed, Influence of Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. And, so I've learned, you know, I could probably, 4 or 5 of them probably have made up 80% of my education.
Mm-hmm.
I started off just copying everyone else, not knowing what I was doing, writing copy like Dan Kennedy or writing copy like Gary Halbert, not really understanding underneath that
The
what
framework.
what psychological levers were actually being pulled.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it worked pretty good, it worked pretty good,
So that's actually how I learned how to write copy. Is I'd get emails from like you and Frank, and
yeah.
I'd look at the email and then I would handwrite it by hand, like your exact email. And I just doing that for, over like literally hundreds of times. That's how I learned how to write copy.
I did the exact same thing with every one of the, they're not in here. I guess they're in the garage with every one of the Gary Halbert letters.
Yeah.
And you know how many there are.
Yeah.
I wrote them all by hand.
Yeah. Just something about that hand.
It's a tactile thing. You tend to recall it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
good stuff.
But yeah, that helped me a lot. So most of it's learned, but you can't teach that burn in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't teach that. I wish I knew how to turn that on in people, because I'd turn it on in my kids. Most of my kids have no interest in business and no interest in a lot of anything, really. They just want to, do their job and go home and sleep, which is fine. As long as they're happy and they're safe, I don't care. But, I sure wish I had one of them that had some entrepreneurial prowess, but I have none. None of them have any, I'll just sell off all my crap when I die, and they'll stick me in a hole and go to Cancun, probably, I guess.
And that's how it works, brother.
That's how it works, isn't it?
That's how it works. Well, Perry,
Worst ROI investment ever, children.
I appreciate you being here, brother. And hey, I'll hook up with you after. And man, I'd love to. It's been too long. I remember I flew into Austin here a while back, and if I remember right, we met at a barbecue place there in Austin. So I'd love to.
I've been known to eat barbecue.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to. We need to
come on down
that.
anytime.
Yeah, we need to
if I get to
that.
Florida on one of these events. I was telling them before we got on. I just signed a 62 gig speaking contract from August to May.
Wow.
And I told them that Carl White was coming with me at every one of those dates.
Yeah, so, yeah. And that's what sealed the deal.
That's what
they were on the fence, and then you mentioned that.
So, they were. I said, Carl will come be the eye candy if you'll just let us do this.
Well, I love you, brother. It's great to see you.
Too.
Thanks for bringing such value. And with your permission, I'm going to get the transcript of this, and we're going to write like a little notes thing and send
100%.
it to everybody. So all right,
anything
cool.
you can do, and if anybody needs me for anything, just let me know. You got my phone number. You can get my number if they need anything. So.
All right, sounds good. All right,
thanks,
I appreciate it, Perry. Thank you, brother.
Take care.
Great stuff. Hey, Perry, thanks so much. And for the rest of you guys, go get it, man. Go get it. You guys have a great day. We'll be back here tomorrow, my friends, to do it all over again. You guys have a great one, and we'll see you there. Tomorrow, we have Marlene Shakar. She owns an AMC, so we'll talk appraisal stuff tomorrow. So be sure to be here for that. Perry Belcher, thank you so much, my friend. You betcha. Catch you guys later. See you here tomorrow. Adios. Bye-bye.
Have a great day, everybody.